There are countries in this world where people want to make being a Christian impossible. They pass laws and close down churches. They issue threats and send out spies. They put leaders in prison and drive Christian communities from their homes. They attack, they kidnap, they even kill. The pressure is intense. And these are the countries where Christian persecution is most extreme. Eritrea is at number 5. Christians who worship outside the state-sanctioned churches face arrest. Hiwot was at a secret house church gathering when the police came. She spent nearly 10 years in jail. Sudan is number 4 on the list. Sudanese Christians are caught in the crossfire of civil war. Church buildings have been destroyed and leaders threatened. Among the millions who have been displaced, Christians find it especially hard to access food and aid. At number 3 is Yemen. All Christians are in danger here. With intensive monitoring by both extremists and the state, it's almost impossible for Christians to meet up in person or online. If discovered, they risk arrest, rejection by community, and even murder. Number 2, Somalia. To be Somali is to be Muslim. When Awais first started following Jesus, he was cut off from his family and clan. He gathered a small group of Christians, but when 12 out of 14 of them were killed, Awais fled the country. And at number 1, North Korea. Still the most dangerous country in which to be a Christian. The regime demands total allegiance. Even owning a Bible is illegal. Believers must hide their faith or risk being sent to a labor camp or being killed on the spot. Around the world, more than 388 million Christians face high levels of persecution and discrimination for their faith. They live in lands where others want to make faith impossible. But it never works because God makes a way. The church remains alive, active, even growing. And through your prayers and gifts, Open Doors stands alongside our Persecuted Church family, supporting them with crucial aid, Bibles, training, and long-term care. Because, humanly speaking, faith might be impossible, but with God, it's an entirely different story.
Thank you so much to you as a church family for your prayer and your support of persecuted believers. That's what Open Doors are about, and therefore it's what I'm about. I've been with Open Doors now for 6.5 years. Before that, I was a church planter and pastor. And now I work to raise awareness of what's going on with our Christian family around the world, particularly those who are suffering for their faith. Those who, like in the video, are imprisoned. Those who lose their community and their homes or even face death for following Jesus. So I work for Open Doors, who exists to strengthen. There's a verse in Revelation chapter 3. It says, "Wake up, strengthen what remains and is about to die." And so that's our heart, that we would strengthen those who are at the point of death. But also, I believe there's a mutual relationship between the church here and the church who are persecuted. And if you think about Revelation 3, it says, "Wake up so that you can strengthen what remains." And so I believe there's something in the testimonies and stories of the persecuted church that awakes our spirit, that awakes us in our faith and says, hey, we can be courageous here too. We can share our faith with those that are around us. So my hope and prayer as I share today, but when I share in churches, is that there'd be this mutual encouragement, that we hear about the persecuted church, you'd feel compelled to pray with and stand with them, but also you'd be inspired in your own faith by our brothers and sisters.
That's amazing. You know, I've met a few times online with pastors from around the world, especially in Asia, and one of the things that always humbles me is when you go on there to pray, they'll always say, "Thank you for your prayers." And I like, it always humbles me. But then they'll say this, "And we are praying for you too." And I'm like, wow, they are praying for the church here today as well as we're praying for them. So I find that very humbling, but also empowering, because I think God is going to answer their prayers as well as answer our prayers for the church there, but also the church here. So we're on a win-win. So Dan, obviously there's stuff happening around the world, but what is one of the things as a church that's maybe the focus for Open Doors at the moment and what we can help with?
Sure. So our main kind of area of focus at the moment is something called our Arise Africa campaign. And that's born out of the church in sub-Saharan Africa and their cry for help. In sub-Saharan Africa right now, Christians are facing violent and extreme persecution. Some of the stories, I literally could not tell you because they are so disturbing in terms of what's happening to our brothers and sisters. And it's resulting in mass displacement. It's resulting in Christians losing absolutely everything they have, their livelihoods, their futures to some degree, all of that because they follow Jesus. And it's happening in numerous nations across sub-Saharan Africa, and they feel like the world has forgotten about them. They feel like it doesn't make the news, that people don't know that this is what's happening. More Christians are killed in Nigeria than the rest of the world combined every single year, simply because they follow Jesus. And about 3 months ago, I went to Burkina Faso, which is number 16 on our World Watchlist. It's a country that the UK government says anyone from the UK should not go there because it's not safe, because of kidnapping and terrorism. And our Christian family live in that nation. About 30% of the nation is under the control of Islamic extremists. So if you're a Christian and you live in that part of the country, you're just threatened all the time. And I met a lady called Eliza when I was there. She had come to faith. Someone had shared the gospel with her bravely, and she put her trust in Jesus. As a result in that, her mum and dad disowned her. Imagine that for a second. Her husband left her. Her husband kept her children, who were aged 8 and 6 at the time, from seeing their mum. Then Islamic extremists visited the village and forced anyone who wasn't a Muslim out. So Eliza, when I met her, hadn't seen her kids for 4 years. She can't go home to her village. She's been disowned by her family, and she was absolutely smashed apart and broken. And she was sharing this story, and she said there was this one moment that changed everything. She met with a pastor, and the pastor didn't pray with her. The pastor didn't open the scriptures with her at this point, did all of that. But this pastor did 2 things. They listened and they wept. And as this person listened and wept to Eliza's story, she says that was the beginning of her kind of trauma care and her healing and seeing the goodness of God. And her story kind of, to some degree, surmises why we exist. That Christians will be strengthened in the hardest of places. And you have a part to play in that through your prayer and through your support. And you have on your seats 2 things. One of these little cards, please don't lose these, take these with you. It's the name of a believer in sub-Saharan Africa that you can commit to praying for. And saying, hey, we're part of this body, we're family, and I'm going to pray for you. You might not meet them this side of glory, but won't it be beautiful when you do meet them and you can say, I prayed for you. So take one of these away with you. The second thing is our petition. As I said, the church in sub-Saharan Africa basically asked for our help, and they said, we don't have a voice, but you do. Use your freedom. And that's what we're doing. We're trying to get 1 million signatures globally to ask 3 things for the church in sub-Saharan Africa. 1, that Christians would be protected. 2, that there would be justice for those that are perpetrating the crimes. And 3, that Christians will be able to go home. And so we'd love for you to add your name towards this. We're at about 600,000 at the moment, and we're aiming for 1 million by November. And that's going to go to the UN, the EU, the UK government, you name it.
Can I just ask, why 1 million? Is there a significant number, or is it just, does it have a...
Okay. Whether it was of the Lord, but people went, hey, we think actually having 1 million signatures, people will sit up and notice.
Yeah.
It's unprecedented. And so globally, that's what we're aiming for. And so we need your help. And to do that, if you would please today consider putting your squiggle in this box here and your first and your surname. That is the minimum requirement, if you like. That's all you need to do.